thank you again for tuning into today's webinar. So let's go ahead and get started.
All right, let's go. All right.
So if you want, I could give a quick introduction, Alex. You know, I've known Alex, I think, since I've been in the industry and business development and the various companies I've worked for. She is certainly an expert when it comes to networking. You're going to hear this term a lot, a super connector, and she is certainly one of those. She's introduced me to a lot of people and taught me a lot. So I'm very excited to hear what she has to say today. So now I turn it over to you, Alex.
All right. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you for the warm welcome. I'm excited to be here. I love this topic. I think it can apply to the personal life and also business. So let's get into the power of networking. So it all begins with you. It really does. Networking is a responsibility of yours. How you connect with people is a responsibility of yours. And we're going to go over that today on how to connect with people on a higher level where they'll remember you and want to do business with you. All right, how to do it 3, right? Move on to the next. It's number 1. All right. So just wanted to give you a little fun facts about me. I think it's important anytime you're speaking to someone or even having conversations and work, just so people understand who you are, a little bit about your background. I mean, that's the kind of things people remember. So we'll start really briefly. I was born in Portugal. I came to the US when I was only 7 years old. I grew up in Connecticut. So Connecticut girl here, all my Northeasterns that's on this webinar, shout out to you. I moved to Florida in 2000. I transferred here with a company called Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I'm sure you all know what Enterprise Rent-A-Car is, as a regional marketing director. I've been married for 15 years. In fact, I just celebrated my 15-year anniversary with my amazing husband, and I am a mom of 3 amazing boys, and certainly a boy mom, and I'm totally going to own it. Inspiring people is what fuels me. I love working out, doing yoga, reading. These are just some of the things that are important to me. Reflexology. I really thrive during routines. And sometimes when things kind of go off, I don't do so well. That's something I work on daily. I was a contestant on Dancing with the Stars of Broward County. So little fun facts about me.
That's so interesting. That's great.
Most terrifying thing I've ever done, I think, because you had to really put yourself out there. Talk about networking. It was 1,000 people there at the Hard Rock, and I had to dance. And I'm an okay dancer, but when it comes to routine, that was a huge challenge for me. But I did it. I didn't die. I made it. So, but really, my superpower is simplifying things that appear complicated. I love to keep things simple. People come to me all the time with issues. You know, being a business owner and working with a lot of CEOs, I have to be on my feet and ready to make things easy for them because they don't want to think too much on how to fix problems. So I fix a lot of problems for them. All right, so they call me the networking queen. As Jessica mentioned, yes, I've been networking my entire career. I've been in marketing and business development for 20 years now. And I think I've built my career in marketing, but also networking and connecting with people. So it's just some of the things that I've been involved in I'm currently the president of National Women in Roofing, executive director for BOMA Miami-Dade, secretary, PR chair, and past president of Commercial Real Estate for Women. I've served as president of International Facility Manager Association for IFMA. For those that don't know the organization, it's a great organization for anyone that wants to advance. So these are some of the things that I've done in my career to really help me connect and get my networking game on. And that's why I kind of earned this name of Networking Queen. So I just want to stop and do a little inventory. Jessica, maybe you can help me out here. I know the Q&A, but I just wanted to understand like who on this call feels that they're a great networker. If you do, put it yes. And if you need some help, go ahead. Let's put it on the chat box. Is there a chat box open? I know you said the Q&A is open.
There's a Q&A, but you can also just raise your hand and let us know who on the. Okay, so Gina thinks she's a great networker. Who else?
Yes, Gina, I love it.
Monica Martinez, you're a great networker. I see you on there. You better raise your hand, girl. Avian, Monica Martinez, okay.
Great.
Okay, so we have three great networkers so far. I'm sure the rest of you are good networkers too.
I'm
So
sure
you'll
as
be
well.
fine.
And the ones that are great, and thank you for, stepping up and letting us know this, but I hope that I can enhance that today after the end of this this presentation. So all right, let's get started. So what is a super connector? Okay, super connectors definitely build authenticity, right? It's important to be authentic in conversations. For those of us who want to harness power and super connectors, there's simply a formula. So instead of asking for things, we want to provide value, right? We want to be a person that comes in and really want to show the value that we bring to relationships, not just ask for it. And that's with everything. So number three, successful networkers look for others first. Again, goes back to, creating value, but you look for others first. Number four, they listen, they care, and they want to help. They want to be, they want to be engaged. So making sure that you're engaged in conversations. We'll go over that a little later, but networking, I know you've all probably attended networking events where, people are having a conversation with you, but, you're either not 100% interested, but you're not engaged. People feel that. So making sure that if you are in a conversation with somebody, listen and stay engaged, or just politely ask, to leave, because people can sense that. And then the behind the scene linker, right? This is my favorite. These are people that are actually going to help you out in your career, who pretty much are kind of connecting you to people that you don't even know they're connecting you to. So that's the behind the scenes linker. So that's the super connector. The traditional advice for building network is show up at events with, kinds of people who you want to meet. They tell you got to go to this networking event. These are the types of people that are going to be there. Hand out business cards, right? We don't want to be that person that just hands out business cards, no meaningful conversations. Put yourself in the right place. Okay, these are some advice they give you. And then have an elevator pitch and be assertive and ask for help. That's what we're taught to do. And then more about quantity than quality. So I don't really believe that works in this space today that we're in. I think
agree. Yeah.
You agree with that? Yeah, we have to have more relationships. I think having conversations that people remember, and I think that's how you connect with someone. So that's not going to work, and that's why we're here, right? We're going to learn what works in this space that we're in today. So back to super connectors, savvy networkers, on the other hand, use a far more effective approach. And the approach is building a network is about building relationships that are both authentic and generous. Instead of asking for things, provide value. We kind of went over that. Successful networkers look for others first. So just more of a reminder. And then they listen, they care, they want to help, and they engage. So that is what we're going to kind of focus on. We're not going to go into an event or even any conversations. And I know a lot of property managers are on, even with vendors, right? You want to get to know who are the people that you're going to be working with. And it's not just about coming into your building or coming into your property to work on, whatever it is project you have that they need to work on, but you need to understand who you're doing business with. And it's important to be at that level.
Yeah, and if I could just chime in here, for the property manager, sometimes we feel we're so busy and, we don't really have time for vendors and things like that. But, think about your 3 a.m. flood. If you have a relationship with that rep,
Yes.
it's personal. They're going to show up for you, during a hurricane, they're going to show up for you. Because now you have a real relationship. So they're going to make sure that, your work is done on time, within budget. If you need help with costs, that person's going to advocate for you because you gave time in the front end in that relationship.
Right. Love it. Very, very good point. All right. Where's my slide? All right. So we're going to learn today what networking is and how to avoid being the networker from hell. Being able to introduce yourself effectively, developing a hook with telling your story. I find through just these presentations that I do and some classes that I teach, one of the hardest things is being able to introduce yourself, right? I'm sure people are kind of can agree with me. I don't see you, but I'm sure you're kind of shaking your head. Yes, it is very difficult to be able to come up with that 30-second commercial, even 10-second commercial of who you are, what you do, what value can you bring to that person. So that is what I found has been the hardest. And we're gonna kind of go over that today. Know how to take strategic approach to building and maintaining their network. understanding how to enter a room with confidence and approach people they don't know. It's not going to the people that you do know, understanding how, to approach somebody and being able to have a conversation with that person, because you really never know where that relationship could lead to, right? It could be a referral for you. It could be just someone that you can share best practices with. You just never know where that relationship can lead you to. So very important to approach those that you don't know. It's in our comfort zone, right? To walk into a place where we go directly to the people that we know, but we really need to get out of that mindset if we're going to grow our network. It's really important. So being able to follow up, develop relationships, and stay in touch over a long period of time. And that's another difficult thing, right? You meet people, you're like, I have so many people that I've met, and you don't stay in touch with them. It's really understanding how to keep in touch with these people, especially if they're your golden goose. And we're going to talk about that later in the presentation. You should be reaching out to them, whether it's a lunch, even an email, just to say hello, staying in touch. Again, these are valuable relationships that you can, harness, from just, touching base. It's that easy. And then be able to structure their pitch and communicate in a compelling sales story. So really being able to share who you are, what you do, what property you're managing now, and just something where it just kind of just comes out of your tongue, like very easy. You're not pushing, you're not forced. This should be something that you just feel good and confident about saying to people. And again, some of these things that we're talking about here, I've found has been really difficult just through these classes. People are like, I struggle with being able to just introduce myself. I struggle just telling people what I do. And what you do is so important, because people are going to refer business to you and want to send people your way. But if they don't know what you do, how can they? Make sense? All right, so what is networking, right? We're talking about networking. You're here for the power of networking, but what is networking? So networking is the ability to interact with other people, to engage information and develop contacts, especially to further one's career. And I think that is key. I can tell you stories. I've known Jessica from when I was working at a roofing company. And guess what? Through my network, look where I'm at today, just here to present to you all and the company that Jessica's working for. So it's all about being able to connect with people, because you never know where you're going to be tomorrow. So that's really, really powerful.
Yeah, because I was at a different company too when we had met. So there you go. And here, we closed the loop yet again. So
there you go. It's amazing. So that's the power of networking. So power of networking: learn, connect, inspire. Networking is a skill you can improve over time. It's not going to happen overnight. I mean, you're not going to be able to just walk in a room and just, overpower that room and go right to people that you don't know. It takes time. It takes courage. It takes you, saying, okay, I got to get out of my comfort zone. They're just another person. I'm just going to go and say hello, and then just having a conversation. That's really what it is. And you never know what it could lead to. So that's really what the power of networking and what it can do for you personally and also in your career.
Alex, and it sounds like what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it almost sounds like the focus shouldn't be on the outcome, like, oh, will they give me a job? Will they give me an opportunity? Will they give me this? But it's more like, how can I make friends? Like, how can I just meet people here and build a relationship, and the rest kind of falls into place?
It's exactly, and we're going to kind of go through each one of those just to understand it a little bit more. But yeah, that is exactly what it is. It's not, we make networking about others, meaning, oh my gosh, or I'm going to be uncomfortable. But no, networking is truly the value you can add to someone else, in a sense. So it really starts with you, and that's how we start the presentation. It really begins with you and you wanting to connect with people. And it shouldn't be that hard, right? It sounds so easy, but I know it is. It's something new and people feel a little uncomfortable. But if you look at it as just you building, like you said, Jessica, a relationship and making friends, really, that's all you're doing. You're making friends out there. So little inspiring words here: practice the skill of networking. The key to building these connections is finding a common interest or goal and expanding on it by sharing information. So engaging, again, authentically, very important to be yourself. And to me, when you're out networking, or you're on a phone with someone, or you have a vendor who comes into your office, or anyone, you just being yourself to me is important. I see a lot of times where, people are, one way, like say on social media, and then you meet them live and you're like, who's this person, right? They're just not showing their true self. And I think that part of networking is letting people know, like, this is who you're just one, right? You're one of a kind. You're that one person, not pretending you're something else that you're not. And I see that a lot as well. And that's could be nerves. It could be people just feeling uncomfortable to open up. It can be a lot of different things. But again, I encourage you to just be yourself. And that's what people love. And that's how relationships are built, if you think about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the 3 C's in networking, I've been talking about, just put yourself out there, right? So that confidence is number 1, right? Being sure of your own abilities and qualities. And a lot of times when we push back, we're kind of in our own way because we don't feel confident with ourselves, but it does start with confidence. And before that is the other C, which is really courage, to do it, because you can't really have confidence unless you put yourself out there. Confidence comes after you have the courage to do something that scares you. And then curiosity, exploring the unknown. The more you can explore the unknown, the more you're curious of, maybe let me go and have a conversation with this person and asking questions, right? The more you get to learn and grow. And then connections, the link between a common interest, right? How do we connect? When I start the presentation, I shared with you some of my fun facts because I don't know who's on this call that probably loves yoga or loves Dancing with the Stars. Like I'm putting some things out there that we can possibly connect, where you will remember me next time you see Alexandra Labar. You're going to say, oh my gosh, how are those 3 boys doing? I know you really love being a mom because you said you're going to own, how is it being a boy mom? Whatever it is, that information that I shared, because that's who I am, you're going to connect with it, whatever that story looks like. And those are important things to do when you're meeting people.
So Alex, I actually have a live question here from one of the participants. They ask, what tips would you give someone who struggles with social anxiety to overcome it so they can succeed at networking? That's a great question.
That is an amazing question. And believe it or not, I've had anxiety my entire life. In my entire life, but in my 20s, I share this all the time with people where, I did have anxiety with like public speaking, and I would have anxiety with just putting myself out there. But look at me now. And the advice I give you is take a deep breath. I promise you that people want to meet you. You have so much to offer in this world. Do not keep it inside of you because we need you. And that's something that's helped me because of my energy. And I know that I'm here to contribute to this world. I'm not going to allow anxiety, because that's all it is fear. And if you suffer an anxiety like I did, we know that it's really us. It's a false belief that we put upon ourselves and don't allow ourselves to get to the next level. So I just want to encourage you, build a little courage. And then once you do that, you'll start getting more confident. And then you could, little by little, before you know, you're going to be like, hey, this is like really easy. Like all I'm doing is like meeting girlfriends out or going out to, with meeting with friends. It's just conversations. And I just love talking to people because you just never know what you're going to get out of that conversation. It could be a life-changing experience for you. It could be something that somebody helped you with that maybe you didn't have the resource for. It's just amazing. So I encourage you to put yourself out there, but I do understand that social anxiety can really, get to you and make you not, put yourself out there. Mm. Did that answer your question, Monica? Did that help, I should say?
I think so.
Awesome. All right. Yes. Thank you. Okay. So how many times do you say, and this is a good point for you, Monica, right? We say, I need to meet more people, right? I want to really make my influence, my circle of influence. I need to strengthen it. I want to have more people in my networking alliance. I feel like I just need to put myself out. We say that all the time, but then we really don't do it, right? So let's go ahead and get right into the 7 reasons networking can become powerful for you. So we'll go through the 7 and then we're going to go through each one of them. Now, 1, peer learning. Peer learning is so important, you know, sharing best practices, understanding how other property managers are doing things, and just being able to have a resource and connection within even your own team. So important. You're not networking just, you know, meeting other companies or vendors. You're networking within your own company. So important to have that.
So true. Yeah.
Yeah, right? You must always be ready. You know, always being ready is important. You never know. Like if you struggle with like not, you know, at a networking event, someone's asking you a question, you may lose an opportunity. So always being ready mentally. You're there, turn off your phones. Like, let's just be present. Let's be there and let's grow, let's learn. Take notes while you're at network. I always take notes. You know, I'll go like write in a piece of paper. I'm old school when it comes to that. I write everything down, but I would write like this person said something, and I'm not gonna give you all the secret now, but I'll tell you why it's important. Ask non-traditional questions, put your personal brand to the test, continue the conversation. Huge, huge, huge. Can't wait to share that with you. And then hold yourself accountable, right? We gotta hold ourselves accountable for these things. No one else is going to, you know, take you to the next level in your career, but you. These are the things that you have to work on yourself. So holding yourself accountable is huge. So peer one learning. So while a networking environment, you can learn tremendous about others, the power observation, right? Looking around, understand like how are people moving around the room, learning how people are starting conversations. You'd be surprised how much you can learn just kind of observing, but really having the mindset to say, okay, I'm here and I want to be better at networking, and I'm going to observe and see like how other people are doing it. So support is important. And then be aware of what works. Go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, I just wanted to say something, Alex, because, you know, I always encourage this with our property managers, because sometimes you have like people from the same company in the same neighborhood and like they don't know each other. And, you know, something goes wrong and, you know, you can always lean on a buddy system and have that property manager, you know, send some of their teammates over, or you can help each other with best practices. I mean, if you're in the same neighborhood, you're going through the same like issues, the same residents, you know, and you don't know them. You have no idea. You're like literally on an island because you don't go out to the networking events. You don't go to the community events, you know?
Right. Very, very good point. It's important to know. I mean, that's not, like I said, networking, it's internal as well, you know, within your own company. People don't miss that opportunity a lot. Maybe they're busy, they just don't have time, but it is really important to take the time to know people that are, especially within your circle.
Oh yeah. Agreed.
So number 2, you must always be ready, right? What if I'm afraid? I don't want to, how can I be ready? People are throwing things at me. Well, you got to be ready. You got to be ready. And that takes practice, right? So networking can't be forced. You can't just force yourself to do it. To me, it's a learning thing. You can't, if you force it, people see that you're uncomfortable. And that's where going back to being authentic and being your true self is really important. So it's a practice thing. If you try to force it, you really goes anywhere. That, you know, same thing. Engaging in dialogue with new people requires you to be quick on your feet, because people are going to ask you questions and you just need to be comfortable answering questions. And a lot of times what I've learned as well is people don't like to talk about themselves. They're uncomfortable, right? They love saying things about, you know, maybe Alex is great in it, but then when it comes to praising themselves, they're uncomfortable. And we have to get comfortable with also patting ourselves in the back and being able to share our successes with others, because if you don't, how do people know how great you are? And how do you get promoted within your company? Or how do you get referrals from someone, right? So it's really important for people to understand, like, what are you great at? And what have you done? What are your accomplishments? And then if you're caught off guard, you may find yourself uncomfortable, right? That's not something we want. You want to be prepared. So you are either an active networker or you're not. And I love that point a lot, because I see people like will network. I'll see them at like 3-4 events, and then I won't see them participate anymore for like a year. And then they show up and like, nobody knows me. Well, you haven't been around. So you have to like pick your side here. I'm not telling you have to network every single night. Everyone has children, but at least be smart and strategic, like on the things that you should be at. That's important to me, because again, you're presenting yourself. It's you are really your brand, you know. You're working for Castle Group, yes, but your brand is you, right? You're representing yourself. So people remember you and want to do business with people, right? So that's important to remember. So not showing up and not being part of these things, it kind of separates you from other companies and other people. So I encourage you to show up. So I love this part. We know what happens when people fall asleep at the wheel, right? Not good. So number 3, hope you guys are still with me. We're going to get through this. So take notes while networking. Just as when you are being trained for something, right? You take good notes. You start work or you're having a meeting with your boss, you're taking notes. It's important to also do that, right? And when you're, in a networking event, either it's like, to me, take a little bit, I take a notebook. I mean, some people want to do it on their phone, and I just write notes about interesting things that I found out about an individual. It's so important to take these notes, because how are you going to follow up effectively? There's a follow-up piece that goes with that. So we just don't want to meet people, right? We want to create relationships. We want to make sure we nurture relationships. So part of that is getting to know them. So if you're at an event or you're meeting so many people throughout the day, if you don't stop to take these like notes, you're not going to remember some valuable things about them. And then you cannot refer back to it because you forgot. So that's why taking notes, to me, it's important. Do you take notes, Jessica?
Yeah, I do on my cell phone. I always do. I'll take down a name or a company name or something like that, something that I need to follow up on. Because what happens too is that you don't want to be too pushy. So let's say you come up with like an opportunity or something like that. You want to be able, in a very, graceful way, follow up.
Sure.
So I'll do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then ask non-traditional questions. In networking, okay, applying your knowledge in the form of non-traditional questions are important. Not just being robotic, right? Asking questions that you may think that they would, to me, it's asking questions that will go into more of a conversation, right? It could be something personal, or, just you got to follow kind of the conversation to know, like, okay, can I go there with that person? But I think like non-traditional, like, what do you do? Those to me are just traditional. Where do you work? What do you do? Oh, okay. Asking like, oh, how, more of like, how is it going, during this time? What things are your company doing to get through COVID, let's say, this pandemic? What strategic things have your company done? Because these are, to me, there are conversations, and people would love to share that with you, but we don't ask. We stay in that bubble of just like, what do you do? Oh, great.
What do you
work for? Oh, it's the first time you're here, or, things like that, because that's in our comfort zone and we're already nervous. And we feel like if we ask these non-traditional questions, it's going to lead to a longer conversation, but that's what we want. Yeah. That's what you're there for. Let it lead to those longer conversations.
And something else that's very interesting, Alex, is I've experienced this on both sides, where it's like you ask what company you work for or what do you do, and then you realize you may not have an interest in them or they can't really help you, and then you immediately shut off. Absolutely. And go to someone else like you're not important. But guess what? The day of tomorrow, that person can be in a position that can give you a job. You don't know how many times we're looking for property managers because I just closed on a new building. It's the vendor who sends me the resume for the manager that gets hired, so you just never know.
Yeah, see, these alliances to me are sometimes your greatest resource, right? These are these people, they're the ones that are out there, like, to me, routing for you. They're cheering for you. Yes, they hear an opportunity, or those are the people that you tell that if you're looking for property managers, within your company, they're the ones that are going to recruit for you. So absolutely. Number 5, put your personal brand to the test. So I kind of mentioned that a little bit about a personal brand is really not your company, it's you. And that's what networking begins, right, with that. So networking is a discovery platform and a great way to give your personal brand more exposure. Always be prepared to unleash your identity so that others will remember you, right? It starts with you. People think like their brand is the company's logo, right? They put the brand out there. No, the brand is how people feel with doing business with you, right? So if you to give you more of that, say like Starbucks, when you wake up and say, okay, I want Starbucks, you're not really thinking of so much the logo. You're thinking about like how delicious that coffee tastes, and you're thinking of the whole experience of going into a Starbucks. That is why you love Starbucks. It's not just because the logo. You're not tied to the logo. You're tied to the experience that that company gives you. And that's how people feel about doing business with you as well. It's the experience that they feel, when they contact you. Are you resourceful? Are you able to help? Do you follow up? Do you call back? Do you email back? Not someone that just kind of like someone's reaching out to you that you've met and then you just kind of abandon them. No, and if you did, that is part of your brand, and that people are going to know you for that. So you got to figure out, what do I want people to think of me, right? What is the brand that I want to put out there? So be careful that you are not overly deliberating or focused solely on self-promotion. That's another thing. There's a balance. You don't want to be all about, I do this, rah, 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 asking for business. Again, conversations, relationships, authentic, common, let's see if we have anything in common. Let's just have a conversation and see. And guess what? Not all those conversations go anywhere. There's going to be a few, but guess what? If you don't have them, how would you know? Right? That not every conversation is going to be like your best friend. I'm not going to be like friending everyone, but you have to start someplace. And then during that conversation, you'll know who you connect to. And that's just easy. It's like anything else. Not everyone's your girlfriend. Not everyone, for the guys, you're not everyone's your friend. You connect with people, and that's how they become like part of your circle. Same thing with business. It doesn't change there. So when you walk away from the conversation, those around you should know the following about your personal brand, right? Your enduring ideas, because hopefully you've shared some of them, right? What differentiates you about from others, right? Something unique just about you, and that's really being authentic, because they'll pull it right out. The experience you leave behind, right? That's important. And then whom you serve, those are whether, what company, whatever, who do you serve? Who are these people? And this is how they can help you. They can help you with whether it's a referral or just be a resource. So those are the things, the tips I give you. And then number 6, continue the conversation. So to continue the conversation, I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but basically it's really about, what do you do with that information? Okay, so we talked about how we show up. We're going to take notes. We're going to be engaged. We're going to ask non-traditional questions. But more importantly, we're going to make sure we're taking some notes so we, right, can continue the conversation, whether it's an email, it's a next step thing. So imagine emailing someone after having such a meaningful conversation with them about a fishing trip that they really wanted to go to, and you found out about it. Okay, that's an example. Or saying, hey, it's so funny, nice to meet you, but after I left, I read this article. I thought this would be really interesting for you. And things like that is continue conversation. If you don't stay engaged, how can you have some next steps? And it could even be, let's have coffee. It was really meeting you. I think, we had a great conversation. You want to have coffee, so continue the conversation is really, really important.
Or like a Zoom meet and greet, right? I've been doing so many of those because of COVID.
So many. Yep, that's great. Yeah, let people say, let's have coffee, but it's really on Zoom, and it is having coffee. Let's, on Zoom, right? So absolutely continue the conversation is probably my favorite. And then hold yourself accountable. Follow up, and follow up, right? That's so important. Each conversation has an opportunity, and only you can gauge it. Think of yourself as like a project manager responsible for identifying like the next steps. You need to know like who's responsible, what's the next step. And that's really holding, yourself accountable, because you need to make sure everybody does what they say they're going to do. That's what project managers do. So same thing, like the follow-up and accountability is so important. So the 3-day rule is the powerful principle behind this relationship. I believe in 3-day rule. So this is something I teach to my class. I say, after 3, you have up to 3 days to contact that person. You met them today, fine. You got the next day, you're busy, you couldn't follow up. The following day, okay, they're probably starting to like move on already. And then the 3rd day, you better do something, because that so many people already contact them that it's almost like they don't feel important, after 3 days. So I would say within the 3-day window, I typically do it right away, but that's just me. And sometimes I don't, but typically I do. Just a quick little, nice to meet you. It was a really great conversation. Something quick. Hey, just saying, it was really nice meeting you. And you don't know what that conversation could lead to. So yeah, 3-day rule. All right, so we're gonna get through this here. So I'm sure we all know these people that attend networking events that just goes around, handing out business cards, shaking people's hands. We definitely don't want to be that person. We want to have meaningful conversation. We want to make sure that if you're in a networking environment that you're having good conversation and you're just not going through the room to say, hey, I checked in, I'm here. I think leaving with just value, leaving and saying, wow, I met 3 great contacts that I feel like I can network with, I can share best practices with. I feel like, wow, I'm going to really nurture these 3 people. And in terms of relationship, I'm going to make sure I follow up. Maybe I'll do a coffee with them. I'd rather have somebody do that than go leave and you have 20, 30 business cards and you're not touching base with any of them. And how can you form relationships with 30 people? No one has time for that. You have your own job. So less is best, right? When it comes to networking, it's not a marathon. We're not running in and grabbing everybody's card and saying I showed up. That's not what it's about. So I kind of had to animate that a little bit because I know it. So some do's and don'ts. We'll go through these networking do's and don'ts. Some do's before the event, focus on getting up to speed on individual. Know like who's going to be there. I think it's really important to know like who the audience is. And also from a mental space, if you're attending a networking event, who's going to be there is important of what you're going to be saying, right? And some of your elevator speech or your conversations, you're going to kind of gear it towards your audience. So find out who's going to come with some conversation starters, speak your name clearly. You know, that's important your introductions are important to be able to say your first and last name with conviction, right? With confidence. Maintain good posture and eye contact and smile. It's really important. I've seen it before where people are introducing themselves and they're so like into who else is in the room that they're looking around and see like where they're gonna go next. So bad for building a relationship. The person feels like, wow, I'm not important. But I'm sure we've all seen people like that.
Yeah. Or the floppy handshake where it's like they basically melt in your hand.
You're too busy like looking around like, ooh, where am I going to go next? And you're not even engaged in this conversation. This poor person's thinking, okay, what, and that person could be a great resource for you and a good connection for you. And we're too busy looking around. So don't make sure we wouldn't do that. So make personal connections about hobbies and interests. Like that's what I did in my, when I first started the PowerPoint, just kind of shared with you guys some of the things I love to do, like reflexology, yoga. Approach people who you don't know. We talked about that already. Go into the room and go to people you don't know. The people that know you, say hello to them later. Be ready for your elevator pitch, right? Make sure you know what you're going to say. So what do you do should roll right out of your tongue, right? That should just be easy peasy. You should know what you do. I like to practice sometimes in the mirror. I've written down like my 30-second commercial because when I write things down, I actually remember it. That's just how I operate. So as a suggestion to really take the time. A lot of people say, oh my God, I didn't even think of that, Alex. I'm like, yeah, write your 30-second commercial down and then tweak it as you go, because when you see it on paper, you know what you're saying, and then just practice it until it becomes yours and you feel comfortable. You may not say every word on that list, but you'll feel comfortable after you practice it. So seek out good opportunities for networking, both planned and spontaneous. Sometimes it's important to do your own research on what other organizations you should be involved in, or having a coffee with your coworker that works at a property right around the corner, like those kind of things. You never know, like how you guys can collaborate. Very important there. So go to a networking event without any preparation. We don't want that to happen. Mumbling, we don't want to, mumbling when you introduce yourself, and use your nickname. People can't find you by your nickname if they're looking at you, looking for you on LinkedIn. Make sure it's your first and last name, and then make eye contact. We all want to feel like we're having a good conversation with someone, not when they're looking around. Don't use slang, of course, some people do, but some of those very inappropriate, and don't gossip, of course.
Oh yeah, that's a big one. Don't gossip.
Don't be at a networking event saying this person, oh my God, I can't believe she's coming and she's so annoying. Yeah, because that's not a good look for you. So let's make sure we don't gossip. We don't want to leave that impression on someone that you're there, like just talking about others. And don't be a wallflower, right? You don't want to be standing and waiting for people to come to you. You should be engaged and, kind of working it. And then rambling or giving like a condensed version of your resume, that is just another no, right? People don't have time for that. Again, having real conversations are just more important. Kind of a couple of things. Again, writing these things down is so important. Like, what 3 things am I going to talk about in my career? yeah, I don't want to give my entire resume when I graduated high school, when I graduated. No, it's a lot. But if something in the conversation came up where you guys went to the same college, whoa, go all day. I love it. That's great. So forget about networking since you're busy. So you're maybe on your phone or you're taking, selfies. I've done that before. So no judgment, but that's not a good look. All right. So don't focus all your attention on making multiple new connections, but maintain the focus on fostering and building on valuable existing connections. So very, very important. It's a nice mix, right? Building relationships take time. They don't happen overnight. And again, it's not a marathon. We're not going to go around trying to figure out how many people are we going to meet and connect with in the next 30 days. So it's important about how many great, meaningful conversations, relationships am I going to, meet or add value to in the next 30 days. It's important.
And I want to make a point with this last slide that you had.
Sure.
For property managers, or if we have any regional directors or vice presidents on the line, because I know that you're always looking to staff. So any department heads,
Right.
or leaders, the head of a group who often need to recruit. Networking is a great opportunity. Like, you might find a property manager that is not ready to make a move, but they may be in a year or 2 years, and you've kept that network going the whole time. So I know we're super, super busy. Property management is just insane, but like once a month, come out to a networking event. I know the vendors are inviting you, so come on out, just come meet some vendors, come meet some potential property managers. It's a really important part.
Right, it is. All right, very good point there. So network your way into your lifestyle, or into your style in terms of social media. Again, I'm going to go through this briefly. It's just being yourself. A lot of times we have this image on social media, and then somebody meets you and you're completely something different. I always say be consistent and just be careful what you're posting on social media, especially if you're using it as a tool to connect with other people. I just wanted to kind of address that. Sometimes, I've seen people put up inappropriate things. Unfortunately, we don't want to judge anyone, but in nature, we do judge. You're not going to connect with people that are just doing some crazy stuff out there. So just be careful on what you're putting, even though it's to you, it's normal, but what platform you're going to use as a personal platform or a business platform. Just be mindful of that. I wouldn't treat them all the same. So putting that there. Technology versus people. People are the greatest resource we can ever have. People will give you information that you didn't know. So why don't we educate people on networking? So it's so funny. We educate people on so many things when it comes to, I think we had a couple questions, but when it comes to, technology, but we really don't, educate people on networking. Like, people don't know really how to network. Like, where do I start? Either you just throw yourself in there and then years and years you develop those skills, but no one's going to hold your hands and say, hey, let me teach you about networking. A lot of companies don't really teach you about networking. It's more like, hey, you need to really attend these events. You need to connect with people. And you're like, how do I do that? Like, I know I'm a great property manager. I know how to take care of my property, but I don't know how to connect with people like that. Like, you want me to go to a networking event? So yeah, that's why I'm here to help you kind of, feel a little more confident. So did you know that people think different? So I'm really, based on the time, I'm going to go briefly on this. I do love the thinking styles conversation, but I'm going to go ahead and skip just a couple of slides because it's important to understand how people think so you can be able to respond to them. You ever receive an email and you're like, what was that? And then for the entire day, you're just done. And you're just completely done because that one email just really distracted you and you're just like, oh my God. So it's really important to understand like what people are thinking in terms of just their thinking behavior. So let's touch point on that really quick. All right. So are you, and we can use the Q&A if we want to, but are you a big picture or details? So are you an explorer, a planner, energizer, connector, expert, optimizer, and then producer or coach? So this next slide here is going to help you. So an explorer is a person. So let me know like which color you are. An explorer, thinker, thinking is about generating and creating ideas, right? So that's you. Planner or thinking is about designing effective systems. An expert is the thinking style is achieving objectively and insight. And then optimizer is a thinker is about improving productivity and efficiency. So those are like on that side. So you got the explorer, the planner. So I don't know if you guys want to comment on what you think, which side you're on. And then you got the energizer and the connector. And I kind of fall on this side here where, energizing, I'm, thinking about, mobilizing people. Like I'm all about the action. Connector, thinking about how I can be building and strengthening like relationships. Producer, thinking about like achieving and completion. That's how I think. I just want to like move fast. Coach, thinking about cultivating people. And, so which side you fit on is really important for you even to have these relationships with internally, right? Is this person more of like an energizer connector? So when she sends me that email and it's a little bit cold, she's probably just busy. Okay. I'm not going to get offended. She's just like, she's moving and she's going. This person a little bit more like very detailed. Oh my God, I just got a book, right? Just sent me an email. It's so long. Not to get offended. They're not trying to micromanage you. That's just the way they think. And that's the way they operate. They're planners, they want things in order. So just understanding, and that goes for networking, right? People that you connect with. And that's how connections happen. If you really take the time to understand how people think and respond. And if you know where they fall, then it's better, right? Our relationships become stronger. Make sense?
Yeah. You can adjust and you're more malleable as depending like who you meet.
Right. All right. So the next, we have, I think another, 15 minutes or a little less. We're going to go into, let's discuss leads. So I love this exercise. When we begin, I want you to take a piece of paper if you can. First of all, take a deep breath. I've kind of put a lot in here. Take a deep breath and let's go through this fun exercise. It's learn, experiences, associations, dedicated, successful. So this is really going to help you understand, right, who you are and how you can show up to the world. So let's go with the first slide.
I'm excited. I got my little notebook and
yeah. So
I'm ready.
You're ready. So what makes you exceptional? Let's write that down. Take a second to just, write down like what makes you, what could people say, oh my God, this person is great. What are you great at? What makes you exceptional? And it could be a one line. It doesn't have to be, long. It could just be. All right. So what are your key differentiators? What sets you apart? Like what sets your company apart in the marketplace? Another great thing to know, right? You want to make sure what sets you apart. You should know what your competitors are and what makes your company great, what makes you great. So what sets you and your company apart? All right. The next one is, who's your golden goose? We don't think about our golden goose. So golden goose is a potential client that has the ability to give your company multiple opportunities or ongoing repeat work. We kind of touched on this in so many ways where, the vendors can be a great resource for you in terms of if you're looking for a new property manager. They're out in these buildings and talking to property managers all the time, right?
I am one of your golden gooses. I've sent so many resumes to HR. From front desk to property manager,
I love it. So let's pick these 3 people. And these 3 people, I just encourage you to reach out to them, whether it's monthly or maybe once a quarter, whatever your time permits. But these are the people that you really need to have lunch with, send an email, check up on. Keep them close to you. and you only know who these people are because they're a great resource to you. They could be a mentor to you. These are people that has helped you in your career and can help further your career. So make sure you pick the right people, and let's start working on, strengthening those relationships with these 3 people, even to another level if you haven't yet. And then the next one is, what have you learned, right? So what have you learned through the course of your life that could add value to others? So important. See, if you understand, like, what have I learned and how can I add value to other? What are you great at? Like, what do you feel like I learned this thing, and if I didn't learn it, I would not be the person I am. And something, I'm going to share it because I can help. I know I can help somebody with this situation. It could be you are someone that is very organized, or you're a great multitasker, or whatever it is. You're a great problem solver. You're a great researcher. I can find out anything if you need it. Come to me. So what have you learned is so important. And then what experiences have defined your path, right? So sharing your experiences helps others relate to you. You can inspire, encourage, and even challenge others by sharing the experiences that shaped you as a person. We all have had that experience where, I don't like that I went through it, but guess what? It has shaped me to the person I am today. I'm going to share it because it can help somebody else. So what experiences have defined your path? So tell your story. So important. You never know who you can inspire. All right. So what associations are you a part of, right? You may have many networks or people you associate with. Helping others understand your associations will help you find common ground, and you may have someone else's golden goose in your own network. How awesome is that? So sharing your organizations that you belong to, it's important. I don't know which organizations you guys belong to, but sharing that with people is important because you never know if they can have, like I said, your golden goose or someone else's golden goose in your own organization. That's a connecting. That's how you connect. Oh my God, I know that person. Mm-hmm. And that's the beginning of like true connections. What are you dedicated to doing? What are you wholeheartedly dedicated to? Sharing what makes you passionate helps others understand your priorities, right? If you're passionate about whatever, I'm passionate about inspiring people. I want to love doing these power presentations. I want to do them live one day, hopefully, because then you get to see my real energy. But I love it. So me sharing that, if you hear anyone of like wants to learn about networking, guess what? Think of me. That's the kind of thing we want to do. What are you dedicated to doing?
So I have some answers here from the participants that they want to share, and we encourage you to continue sharing it. I'll read them out loud. So I have 2 here that I think were the answer to what differentiates me. So Miguel said, what I think, say, and do go in the same direction. So that sounds like integrity to me. So that's awesome.
Love it.
And Gina said, I am unique, a great thinker. I am a social butterfly and a positive person. That's wonderful, Gina.
Awesome. I love it. Very good. And these are the kind of things you got to share with people when you meet them. All right. And then how have you been successful, right? Sharing your success stories and accomplishments so your networking circle can talk you up to people within their network. So important, right? What have you been successful doing? How can I cheer you on if I can't, how can I refer people or cheer you on within my networking circle if I don't know what you've done? So sharing your success story is so important. Mm-hmm. So go ahead and write some of that we forget sometimes to, like I said, pat ourselves in the back. We forget to, we forget the things that we've done, right? So I know I've have a list of accomplishments. And again, everything I shared with you earlier, sharing, some of the organizations that I've been part of, some of the things, some fun facts about me. These are things just to kind of put myself out there. And these are the things that you should be doing yourself in order to connect with people on a higher level. People knowing what you've done in the past is really going to help them refer business to you, right? Or think of you for future opportunities or whatever that relationship looks like.
And I think
don't be shy.
The exercise itself is helpful. So we encourage you to put in your answers, but the exercise itself is helpful to build that confidence, because sometimes we don't give it ourselves enough credit when we do things, and maybe it comes easy to us, so we don't think to put it down. But this, like, becoming self-aware of your strengths is only going to make you more powerful when you come into these networking, situations. So does anyone want to share how have they been successful?
Share your story. Don't be shy. All right, we're in the question and takeaway side of things now. We're pretty much done with the presentation. Now it's more like open conversations. And I cannot believe I did it in less than an hour. You go.
All right.
So anyone have any questions that we can? Thank you, Gina. I'm glad you liked it. I would love to send this over to Jessica on a PDF for your review. I typically don't like giving out my presentations, but I will do it for this group for sure. Awesome.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for your feedback. We really appreciate it. So if you have further questions and you want to perhaps take coaching from Alex, I know that she puts together retreats and she does coaching and things like that. So she's certainly available. Alex, do you have your email on any of the slides, or do you want to give out your email so they can follow up with you?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So it's Alex at XANDRA marketing.com.
Great. And, Castle Group has produced this webinar in conjunction with Xandra Marketing because we like to give these opportunities to our property managers, just elevate the industry's expertise. We're always looking for great talent. So if you're ever interested in joining the Castle team, please email me at jraffo@castlegroup.com. And I'll make sure that your information gets to our talent acquisition team. We want people who take these webinars on their free time to just learn and expand their horizon. Like, those are the kind of teammates that we're looking for. So I have a couple more here. As a PM, there are so many daily stories, but all of them go around helping residents and doing your best to provide an exceptional service. So that's Miguel. Yeah, I agree 100%. The stories can go on and on, but it's the commitment to giving service. And then Susan says, oh, please send me the presentation. So Susan, we're definitely going to follow up with you and make sure that you get those do's and don'ts that you asked for, and also the rest of the presentation.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, share. I love the daily, Miguel. Share the stories. I know there's a lot of them that goes on, but of course, you never know who you're going to connect with by just sharing, for sure.
Great. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This was a ton of fun.
Yes.
We hope you found it informative and educational and helpful for your daily lives and your career. So that's it from us. Thank you so much.